Communism. Communism is attributed as the brainchild of Karl Marx. He is the father of what's known as the command economy. Now that's not entirely fair because there's other kinds of command economies, and technically they have existed before Karl Marx. But communism comes from Karl Marx, and that's generally what we think of now when we think of command economy. His idea was that the workers of the world should unite, revolt, throw out all the wealthy business owners, and everyone just owns everything together. The state is the people, and then therefore the state controls everything through the will of the people, but not through votes. It's just everyone kind of plans it together. Now, he was never a leader, so he never actually, he had written this thing called the Communist Manifesto, explaining how he thinks this might work and how he might approach this new age idea of no class, no poor, no rich, no nothing. Just everyone's equal to each other, and everyone has the same amount as each other. But he was never able to do it. He wasn't in the position to do it, to have that kind of power. But others were, who read his stuff and liked it. China is an example. China is a communist country. They have been since after World War II. And they became a command economy that used 5-year plans, giving the government full control of factors of production, just like Marx would have liked. It's called centralized planning. But their version of centralized planning put all the power in just a few men, in the hands of just a few men, instead of the whole country. So even though the state's supposed to represent the people were kind of limited in getting what they wanted from the leaders. So the leaders are trying to direct things. They had 5-year plans, and one 5-year plan after another, so they could check how things are going and adjust accordingly to try to meet everyone's needs. And it just was not working. It was failing. The economy was starting to drop fast. It had done really well in Russia up until that point, but in China it just wasn't working quite very well. And so it continued to suffer under these 5-year centralized planning plans. Until eventually they started to compromise a little bit. They're still technically communists, more communist than they are capitalists. But from 1979 to 1984, the Chinese government began to introduce limited amounts of free enterprise. Private individuals were starting to be allowed to keep profits after government quotas were met, just like that in-class activity we had, where you got to keep some of your profits after you met the quota. Well, that came from China. That's the way China started doing things, to try to get people to want to work harder and not just meet the minimum. Because if you just have to meet the minimum and everything else just goes to the state, well, then that's no good. I mean, you're not going to work hard. You're not going to try to invent a new, faster way to do it if you're already doing the minimum. So they tried to give incentives. You make the minimum, the rest you sell. Their idea being that eventually they could raise the minimums, the farmers could, and other business owners could still make profit, and overall the economy is generating a lot more output. Aggregate supply starts to actually increase because it was just dead in the water under the 5-year plans. So again, they still want to contribute to social welfare, try to make sure things are as equal as possible, but they've just realized that people aren't going to do anything unless they have a reason to do it, and just helping out their neighbor, helping out their fellow man isn't incentive enough.